All right. Looks like we're on to the next one here, which is the OSD, the RADOS IO hints improvement for the OSD. Jianping, was this you or was it Yan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. All right. Feel free to go ahead whenever you're ready.
Hi.
Hello.
This time the BP is Ceph IO hint improvement in Hammery.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry, wait for a moment.
No problem. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
This time my BP is Ceph IO hint improvement. In Hammer, my BP is OSD and flexible control of object dedicating allocation. The BP is merged into the master. The objective of this BP is make every client to use IO hint flags for more efficient IO model. And IO hint handle in each part of the Ceph. In Hammer, we implemented the IO hint framework. Lab RBD and the Lab RADOS RBD CI support this already. But there are still some aspects which can use this framework. For client, CephFS RBD. For CephFS, we try to mount option for different directory, which use different order. For RBD, now for some cases it use no catch flags, but we can and some option like don't needs, which make user to choose, because only user need the exactly IO model.
So in the CephFS case, you mean a mount option when you mount the file system, you'll say that all IOs will be uncached or something like that? On the mount option?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because there's actually in the CephFS case, we can probably do better than that, because the POSIX API lets you actually do an F advise, and so it might be that we can pass that actually through. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
For category, make a cat poll and IO hint from the client. At present, this part don't implemented. Make a bacteria free rented resource. For some background operation like recovery, scrub, repair, we should make and correct IO hint flags to the OSD backend know the IO model.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
This page show the benefit from the IO hint we implemented in Hammer. We use code bunch for RSA write with eraser poll. The key is 10 and M is 5. we manually modify the code, make the right with don't need flags. From the 3 picture we can see the improvement, the throughput implemented largely, and we use more or less memory, and we remove the read operation on disk.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay. When you say you manually modify the code, that you mean the patch that we merged? That's what the current hammer does that?
No, I don't think so. The problem is that currently there is no way from the client, for example, from Cosmos or RADOS part to pass the hint option to the RADOS.
I see. Okay.
We manually do that and to pass that hint to the RADOS part.
Okay.
The benefit is merely because in the EC scenario, when you create when we do a KM combination, there will be many small objects, and the memory is insufficient to catch all the metadata. But if we using do not need catch, we will free some memory to catch the inode, and so that's why we limited the read on the disk.
I see. Okay. So this is something that the cache tier could really easily do when it's doing a flush. It could always specify don't need, for example. Yeah. And then your entire EC pool would see this if it had a cache in front.
So so we are wondering, considering we already had this in the LibRaDOS part, well, we might be able to enable more clients to expose those features to the application part.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think it's just a matter.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's just that there are 101 small places, so we just have to pick each one carefully to add the hints.
At present, we implemented the RADOS IO framework in Hammer, and rented API in lab RBD and lab RADOS, and handle in RBD Red Hat, and handle in RBD catch. Mainly handle no catch and don't need. For don't need patch is already merged into, and no catch is pending. We also and Ceph command option, which can set don't need flag for poll. This page is the design detail. For the client, we want an explicit option to make use choose. Only use know the exactly our mode. For Ceph as and the mounting option, only directory may need don't need, and the other directory may need no catch. For RBD, we also add the option to make the use choose. For catch tiering, handle our hint from the client with don't need flags. For write, we should evict object as soon as possible. And for read, we should redirect to the base tiering or use proxy read to base tiering. Make don't do promote read.
Okay.
For no catch, if missed in catch tiering for reader, we should redirect or proxy read to base tiering. And with don't need flags. For promote read, don't catch date in base tiering. For flash object, don't catch date in base tiering, because in catch tiering it already has this object. For evict object, don't do anything. We also can extend our hint function, which can free other resources in base tiering like FD catch, love FD, and object contact. Because for cat tiering, we only do a whole object as an operation, so we can free other resources in base tiering. For the background operation, we should correct our hint flags.
Yep. Okay. So I think that the hard part with I think that the background operations, for example, definitely makes sense to add hints. The problem, I think, is that the hint that makes the most sense is no cache, which means don't cache or not cache on my behalf. But the problem is that if you already have something that's cached because it's hot, and then you go and you happen to scrub it, you don't want to set don't need and throw it out of your cache, right? You really need that no cache option. And the problem is that the lower layers don't understand, don't know how to do it. Like mainly like the Linux kernel doesn't know how to say, do a read without caching and also without invalidating existing cache. So it's a little bit tricky. We might have to fake it by doing don't need and just suffer the fact that we might invalidate hot data every once in a while. Because if we just do no cache everywhere, then at the end of the day, it's just a no op at the end because we don't know how to implement it properly. So that's a little bit tricky. But a bunch of these I think are super easy and make a ton of sense. Like the cache tier, the promote and flush definitely makes sense. I think in the don't need for the IO hint and the cache tier, the don't need definitely makes sense. I'm a little unsure though about we need to be a little bit careful there. Like maybe it might make sense to have options to disable believing those hints, because it might be that you have 1,000 clients that are reading the same object because they are like it might be that if you have RBD that has its client-side cache, when it does the reads, it says don't need because it's going to cache it. But if we do that, then if you might have 1,000 clients that are all trying to read the same object and they're all independently caching it, and in that case, the OSD still should cache it, right? Like if it's a really hot clone parent or something. So we can't always believe the hint, I guess, if that makes sense. I guess it's just something to keep in mind. Like believing the hint is better than having no hints at all, I would assume. But even better than that would be sort of take every hint with a grain of salt. So I guess.
Sorry. Yeah, maybe.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe. Sorry.
So just as an example, say you had a base image that's RBD. It's the OS install and it's cloned 1,000 times into a bunch of different VM images. So the parent image is read only, and every client is going to read it, right? And every client is locally caching in librd, and so it might hint that it doesn't want the OSD to cache it also because it's already caching it on the client side. But you have 1,000 of them all reading the same parent objects, and so you still do want to cache even though they're all hinting not to cache. So we just have to be careful and think about those scenarios when we set the hints, like especially the difference between don't need and no cache, so that we don't, yeah.
Sorry, well, maybe I'm missing that. What's the detail of RBD options about IO heat?
I think there aren't any yet, but you could imagine changing things so that we add hints on the client. That makes sense when there's only one client, about when to cache and not to cache, and everything makes perfect sense. You're caching only at the client and not in the OSD and so forth. But that doesn't work when you have lots of clients. because you have 1,000 clients saying don't cache, but you actually do want to cache on the client or on the OSD.
Oh yeah. It means that if we use RBD with not cache option, that we don't want to each write OP cache. Yeah.
Yes, we might want to ignore the client hint in some cases, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's may useful. Maybe for some only log volume or only repeat only volume. Yeah. I think it's maybe useful. Yeah.
Yep. No. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So just something to keep in mind. But I think this is a great list, especially if we start at the stuff in the cache tier, because those ones I think are make a lot of sense, and they're unlikely to be wrong, I guess.
Yeah. Can we pin some volume always on cache, such as a database volume that we want to most of objects in memory? Do we provide with always catch the hit IO hit?
I mean, we don't have that now, obviously. We could make something that pins in cache, but I wonder if you do that, you might as well just put the image in a different pool that's always stored on flash.
Yeah, like Sage, we actually have another BP from Zhiqiang that is dynamical length relocation for cache tiering.
Yeah.
There may be some use cases like what Ham I just said.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that may be related to cache tier. I'm not sure that Sage that do we can provide a pin OP that could that some objects always lie on tier pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could do that, but if the cold tier is on hard drives and the cache tier is on SSDs, you could just create a third pool that is always on SSDs, and you could just put it there.
Yeah. Yes, I mean that.
So, yeah. But maybe, I mean, there might be cases where you only want to pin part of the image, or something, or you want the OSD's memory about the temperature to be long-lived, so that it's very hesitant to decide that it's cold and push it out, for example.
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah. Yep. So I think I have a.
So Sage, we're about 10 minutes over.
Yeah.
The next one's a double, so
okay.
If we're close enough on this one.
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.